Welcome to We've Got Nothing podcast. We literally have nothing.
This morning on Twitter, I don't know if it was the word or the name Dana was trending.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. That
I don't know if it's
fills
a good or
me
bad
up with
thing.
such joy.
I just thought it was funny that it came up.
I don't know. There's not that many famous Danas.
My middle name's Dana. I don't know if you know that.
Really? My
Yes,
middle
isn't that
name's
weird?
Chris. Damn.
But it was after Dana Winters, apparently. Do you remember that actress?
It's an actor.
Dana Winters? I thought it was a female.
No, it's a guy, and I was named after him.
No.
You're leaning in on my resume. When I was born, my name was Brett, B-E-R-T. And then my grandmother apparently said, because I had 3 older brothers stacked right in front of me, sons of Katie Elder.
With very classic names. I was thinking about this yesterday. I was
Yeah.
like, it's interesting that his name's Dana, and you have
Well,
Mark
my
and
parents
Scott.
wanted a girl desperately and couldn't hide it, so they gave me a girl's name. It was going to be Kathy. They go, no, you can't. You got to try. And then they had a girl 3 years later. But I was Brett on the birth certificate, and the grandmother apparently said they're going to tease him, Brett the Brat. So somehow I got Dana, or Dana Winters.
Well, what's your middle name? Brett?
Eddie Funchkin. It's a double hybrid name. Dana Eddie Funchkin Carvey. It's a family history. Don't want to talk about it. Something to do with arms control. Listen, Thomas.
Dana Thomas.
Thomas after the grandfather Thomas McDonald.
Okay.
So, you know.
Hence, is that where you got Tom?
What are your kids' names?
Koa and Ria.
No, the real names. I'm kidding. But that's very...
They don't have middle names.
It sounds Hawaiian.
Koa is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does it mean in Hawaiian?
It's a tree. It's a type of wood. I guess it means strength.
Okay.
And apparently in Hebrew, someone told me koach is strength as well.
Oh, L'chaim. That's the only Hebrew word I know. We should call John Lovitz.
Yeah, we should
Oy
call him.
vey, what a name. Now I'm going to get canceled. Jeez, you can't say anything. And I have nothing to say, so the world is perfect for me. And Rio was from Brazil, right? Rio?
The name, you mean?
Yeah.
It was because my maiden name is Rios.
Oh,
even though
okay,
I
got
go
it.
by Rios.
Oh, that's cool.
Because some people think his name's Rio Rios, and I would never
But you
do
took
that to a
Rios
child.
and took the S off and gave it the name.
Yeah,
It's like
which
me
is
calling
river.
Dex Carve.
Yeah.
Carvey, which was my second choice.
But Dex is just Dex. It's not Dexter, right?
That's what drove us crazy. We actually had a T-shirt made just Dex, because difference
like
to
that.
Dex and Dexter is huge. Dex is cool. Dexter is a nerd, right? Or I mean, it's just
Well,
not.
there's a cartoon. I think Dexter. That's
Yep, it's
he's
brought
a
up all
really
the time to
cool
me. Dexter's
science.
Laboratory. You're like,
Yeah.
Dexter's,
He's
like,
a
you're
cool
not
kid.
Like that guy. That guy
You're
was
like
a
Dexter's
nerd.
Laboratory. You know, you have a small life when you're just obsessively conversing about someone's name. That's from that cartoon. Dexter, your name's Dexter. An hour later, you're Dexter. It's from this other guy who's named Dexter.
So just Dex.
Just Dex.
That could be the name of
That's a
your
cool shirt.
podcast.
Yep, and I want the shirt. I'd wear it now.
Just Dex.
Anyway, should we call Larry? Because I'm going to do something in a minute.
Okay.
Do you have your
Oh. Oh. I must have put it outside. Okay, let's. Oh. Mom's getting
What you
it.
doing, Dana Carvey?
Don't do it anymore, Dana Carvey. We should have him record new
They
things.
should do a couple different.
Yeah. Please stop, Dana Carvey.
Well, now they're grown. It's like teenage annoyed girls now. They're like, ugh.
Oh my God, it's so boring. Joe Biden's still whispering. He was out of place. Yeah, here's it. No, first he's like, here's the deal. You know, come on, man. I'll take you behind a woodshed. I'll beat the hell out of you. I'll beat the shit out of you. Excuse me? What are you saying? Why are you saying that? Because I've lost my mind. Excuse me? We've got to go now. Even his wife is whispering now. We have to go. First lady, what's going on? Why are you whispering? She's not whispering. Come on, man. I will beat the living hell out of you. I'm part of your security detail. Not anymore, Jack. Come on, let's do some push-ups. Let's hang by the rings. Let's do the pommel horse. Come on, dude. I just watched the Olympics. I could beat them all. And I'll beat you with a stick. Because I've lost my mind. I don't know where I am half the time. Or who I'm talking to, so I have to look at a piece of paper. Anyway, come on, let's go, Joe. Yeah, okay, that's good. I'm president. Okay, here we go. I'm president. That's what I am. I got a little thing, a little note inside says you're the president. Then I know I am. Sorry, we'll have to. What you doing? I'm kidding. I don't mean any ill to anybody.
Exactly.
Oh,
Make
lost
fun
my
of
mind
every
button is the
president.
best thing.
I make fun of everybody. He's lost his mobiles. It's a freak show. America. Great country if you can keep it.
That should be a shirt.
God, I think, guys, Can't Buy Me Love still playing while we're talking right now. You always wonder when we get to it. I'm going to do something for fun that I'm passionate about, and we're going to see if Larry can just join in on it. And then we have, we have a very special guest coming up who's going to tell us an amazing story. I know. So don't smash that 15-second forward button. Larry, how are you?
How's it going, man?
Hi, Larry.
We're just doing what we do till we can't do it anymore. How are you today, kind sir?
I'm fine.
All right, well, I'll just get into it. We're going to do, I'm going to do, because I like lists. I realize I click on stuff that lists, top 10 whatever, top 5 whatever. So this is just my list, and you can chime in, Chris, whatever, or think to yourself, my list would be better. I wouldn't do that person, and then bring in your list later. But my list, because I was just thinking of the top 5 coolest famous actors. And I'm using the word coolest the way I would think coolest. Coolest is not, it's open to interpretation. But I'm just going with the coolest. So I'm going to start with who I think is the coolest actor in America.
Okay.
All right.
What's your basis for cool? Like they're good looking. They exude like confidence.
It probably not so much that. I'm not quite sure, but I'll give reasons for each one.
Okay.
So my number one with a bullet way on top of everybody is the coolest is Billy Bob Thornton. He first of all, he did Sling Blade, which is one of the freakiest, visual gymnastics.
Yeah.
How much you want for them taters? I mean, come on. It is invisible in the movie. So he's brilliant. And he gets an Emmy, and he gets up there and goes, I'm not going to say anything because I do Clinton. He's a substitute impression until I learn. I'm not going to say anything because you can get in trouble for saying stuff these days. And then he just walks off. Now, that's cool, right?
Right, that's true.
So if you think about him, I went to Paramount Pictures, and they're going to take a giant photo of anyone associated with Paramount Pictures in the last 30 years. So we're all assigned these seats. We go into a giant hangar. My former manager, God rest his soul, Brad Gray, was there directing everything. Everyone was there. I mean, everybody. Mm-hmm. It's Meryl Streep. It's Jerry Lewis. It's just everyone is there. We're getting in this jet. There's 300 of us. I'm assigned a place where I'm standing right next to Billy Bob Thornton. And everyone in the history's there. He's like, I was glad when I found out I was going to be standing next to you. You're the one I wanted to meet. Really?
Wow.
Okay. And then James Brolin and Josh Brolin appeared in front of us. And Billy goes, this is part of how he's so cool. He goes, now look at them. They're like, now those are movie stars. See those chins? Those are leading men there. You and I, we're like character actors. I'm like, hey, so thanks for putting me in the club, Oscar, man. Thank you. Did you see Master of Disguise? So that was double, triple cool. Everything about him is effortless. He doesn't push anything. He's just cool. I mean, there's just something cool about him. He's got a band, the Box Masters, which is amazing. And then when I was hanging out with right as Trump was coming out, and about Trump, he goes, there's some John Wayne shit going on. He hates antique furniture. His favorite actor of all time was Andy Griffith. He has these asymmetrical choices, this weird coolness about him. So that's number one, okay? Chris, I'll give you a quick comment.
On Billy Bob Thornton?
Mm-hmm. No, John Wayne.
I don't really think
Chris,
about
get her coffee.
I don't really think about him. I'm not a...
Okay.
It's not that I'm not a fan. I don't really gravitate towards him.
I got you. It's a quirky choice. You're going to like as I go down my list, I predict. Number 2, and these are pretty close, just coolest, George Clooney. Here's my reason for George Clooney. He says, I'm not going to talk about climate change because I love my private jet too much. That kind of honesty creates coolness for me. He apparently, at one point, it's documented, when he got flush with money, he took 13 of his best friends and gave them $1 million cash in a suitcase.
I know that factual.
Cool. Oh, you do?
Yes.
Were you one of the 13?
I wish. No.
Okay. You, as a side friend, got 50 grand.
No, I know someone who was a part of that.
Okay,
so.
Larry, as I pause here for a second, well, let me just finish Clooney, and I forgot to ask you about Billy Bob Thornton, but also when my wife and I, Paul and I, are invited to go to the Oscars. Mike Myers was going, wanted me to do a Wayne's World thing with us. So we're going to the Oscars. So we're like, oh, we were in the Oscars. We went to the Oscars in 1993, and now it's like 28 years later. So we thought, by the time we're invited again, we may not be alive. So let's go all out. So we went to some high-end Beverly Hills store, had a really nice guy, super fastidious. I'm standing on a pedestal, mirrors everywhere. Let's get your tuxedo. And I'm like, I want George Clooney. I want the exact same thing he would wear. And he kept bringing stuff. No, with George Clooney. Okay, you want real George Clooney. I'm talking the cummerbund, whatever he's wearing. What shoes would he wear? And he comes back. These would be George's. So he knew exactly. So I have a tuxedo that costs $10,000. Sorry, I have a couple shekels in my pocket. Don't write me a letter about being... I know there's poor people in the world. I was one of them. So I have a George Clooney superstar tuxedo, and I like that about him. I like that he gave the money away, and I like what he said about the private jet. Larry?
Yes, well, I like the Billy Bob choice is excellent because, number one, he was born the same year you were.
Oh.
Wow.
Number
55.
two, I think he could actually, I think he's the first choice to play the lead in the Ready Redneck movie.
You know what? Yes. I think you know what? He's so quirky and he's so cool.
Yeah.
He might be into that. He would like that. I'll do a quick thing. I'm trying to think of Red Rednecky more as a movie. So it's the continued adventures of Red Rednecky, the redneck comedian. Like, and his mom's there. Red, what is your plan today? Well, Mom, I think I'll drink a case of beer, have a big old burrito, some onion rings, take a 4-hour nap, repeat that twice, and then bed down for the night. Red, I admire you. You make a plan and you stick to it. Come and get us on. Well, that's a pretty good. I like that we hear Mama now. That's you make a plan and you stick to it.
I loved Mama.
I
Mama
love
was
Mama.
great.
You gotta love Mama.
Maybe it can start being like Tyler Perry. What's her name? And Medea.
Yeah, Medea.
So it'll be Red Rednecky. You'll just have all these like how many Medeas are?
I'm
there?
happy to do it.
20,000
Billy Bob
of them?
Thornton, if he's listening to this, he's so quirky. He might be listening. We love you, man. And yeah, if you want to be part of this in any way, you can. All right, let's go to number.
So George Clooney, I approve.
George Clooney, okay.
He's also very understated with any kind of charity he does. He's not like,
He's
hey,
just-
look at me, I just donated zillions of dollars to this.
He's
he just
cool.
Does it.
He's cool. There's a story about that he said, which will lead me to number 3. He said that when he's out and about, he knows he's George Clooney. It looks like Cary Grant and Matt Damon, and they're out and about with this other guy. And they just said the other guy, like the whole mob, wherever they are, Cannes Film Festival, when this other guy comes in, they disappear into nothingness. And he's doing this in a very self-facing way. Like we're signing autographs, and then Brad Pitt shows up. And then it's like, he just says, we just disappear. Like people trampling over us, you know.
Right.
So Brad Pitt is my number 3 coolest because he played the coolest character in the history of film in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the character of Cliff Booth, who my wife and I get possessed by movies. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a minute, but are possessed by that movie, and our current couple's catchphrase is, you want to go get some corn grill, we'll pick up, eat that, and that's a good plan. That's a good plan, which was from the movie when Leonardo DiCaprio fires his protege, his sidekick, Brad Pitt, his houseboy, and he just goes, that's a good plan, because he's like, Leonardo's like, we're going to have to let you go, kind of sell the house and live in Toluca Lake, live off the profit, that kind of thing. That's a good plan. So, Larry, what do you think of that choice?
So far, you're 3 for 3.
Yeah, I like that choice. Plus, he's dreamy.
Well, he's so cool in that movie. Here's a little, people haven't heard this story. So like Tarantino, again, I give him like a little addendum coolness. I attach him because he conceived this and cast Brad Pitt and Leonardo, and casting Brad Pitt and really showcasing him as an actor. They work together. So he gets on the roof. He's going to take his shirt off. No pause for women listening to this. They just need to kind of fan themselves. And Tarantino said, he's saying, you know, you'll up, you however he talks real fast. You're going to have to do the buttons on the top of it, you know. And Brad Pitt go, I'm fiddling with no buttons. I'm just taking it right off. You know, it's like, and when you see it in the movie, it was such a, showcasey move by him. So that's my number 3. Larry, Brad Pitt, maybe not on your radar, being a heterosexual man.
Larry thinks he's dreamy.
It wouldn't be in my top 5.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's see about this one. Number 4, coolest, Robert Redford.
Yes.
The reason is, which is a game I play at cocktail parties when no one knows what to talk about besides the weather. Who is the greatest movie star in history based on the definition of them being in the most great movies? And every time I go through the list, no one guesses Robert Redford. But when they hear it, they always agree. Larry.
I wouldn't have agreed with that until I saw the Day of the Condor.
3. Larry doesn't see a lot of movies, but it was fun. A few years back, Larry's in town, and I go, we're at my place. I have a pretty big TV. You want to watch, I don't know, have you seen 3 Days of the Condor? I said to Larry. Larry said, no. I said, well, you're in for 2 hours of fun. So we put it on. Larry was a little fidgety.
I was dreading it.
He was like, oh, I got to watch it. So why were you dreading it? Just thinking it's going to...
I just thought I'm not going to like it. It's going to suck.
And
my approach to everything in life. So.
That's why...
Daddy said, Jackie, nothing's going to work out.
But then Larry was like showing, you know, when I first showed Jaws to Tom and Dex, my sons at the right age, 10 or 12, I put the movie on, I walk away, and I come back, and they're not blinking or moving. They're just completely transfixed, staring. And that's what happened to Larry that day. Larry turned into a 10-year-old boy. I looked over. He wasn't moving. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't even taking a drink of his Coca-Cola or Diet Coke, whatever your drink is, right? So, but that movie's brilliant. Just quickly, Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid. Redford was there. And he always was part of it, you know, either directing or producing. Then you look at 3 Days of the Condor. Brilliant. You look at The Way We Were with Barbra Streisand. You look at All the President's Men. You look at The Horse Whisperer. Later is brilliant. The baseball movie.
Oh, The Natural.
The Natural.
Favorite movie.
He decides to direct. He does Ordinary People. So that
River Runs Through It was beautiful.
River Runs Through It. So that's why I nominate Redford's number 4 on my list. And the thing I realized about making lists, once you make a list, it brings importance to what my choice. Like people will like, well, where was Redford? He was 4. You know, like as if I have it, like I've made something that means something to history. Well, what did you pick for number 5? Also, Paul and I have memorized Out of Africa.
Right. You guys love
we pair storytellers here.
And then he's got the, you know, he's always kind of stayed out of the Hollywood kind of.
I know people who knew him casually. I knew someone who worked on, maybe it was Butch Cassidy, I'm not sure, but then drove to Utah with him, you know. And he said they'd walk around Salt Lake City, and Redford would sort of change his posture and kind of look down and slump his shoulders. And he goes, you want me to do the other guy? He goes, what do you mean? I'll do the other guy if you want. So then Redford kind of fluffed his hair, put his shoulders back, and then the mob came in. So he was able to make himself invisible. Larry?
Wow.
All right. I didn't know this would be so much fun. I'm going to make a list every week. Top 10 gardening tools. You know, I couldn't think of a 5. I literally thought for a while. So I nominated myself. I know it's vain and narcissistic, but it was so much fun to include my name with the other guys. The reason I nominated myself is because I turned down $200 million after I came off SNL, shot out like out of a can. I was a Rolling Stone. I was just, and then I was in 2 horrible movies that were ridiculous. Like literally, I was wandering in the snow with John Lovitz and Nicolas Cage for 6 months in the middle of the night. Yes.
You did a
Trapped
movie
in
with Nicolas
Paradise.
Cage.
Yeah, it was super funny and fun to work with. Yeah. He always would see a woman and go, if I were to send you flowers, where would I send them? It's like, but we would wander in the snow, and lunchtime would be at 1 a.m. when you're doing a movie all night. Lunch, and it's like 1:30. So I had one line, hey, you, and I would just fall down in the snow. So we're having a few pops. He's got a bottle of red wine. It's the middle of the night. John Lovitz is having pie. And then we're walking through this little town, and we look up, and a movie called, I think it was True West, that Nicolas Cage stars in, is playing. But it was closing because the middle of the night. And so the owner said, can we watch it? So we watched the movie. And then like by 4 o'clock, they were ready for our shot. And we just ran in deep snow and fell down, slept it off. All right. I remember once I turned down. So after that, I just turned everything down, every movie. And the late 90s, I'm talking to Dennis Miller. I'm offered like 5 commercials for a ton of money. I turned that down. I turned that down. And Dennis Miller, who always was very pragmatic about show business, Christ's sakes, Carvey, what you added up there, like 10, 15 mil, okay? This business will eat you up and spit you out. Nobody cares, okay? The entire thing is about securing rectangular greenbacks, all right? Dance away into the Larry's favorite. And then I have a honorable mention. Kind of cool that when you make a list, you should make one, Chris. It's so much fun. It's so much power. Well, who are they? Goldie Hawn and Kurt. Whoops. Not a problem. That was Goldie Hawn, who was actually texting me and thanking me for because they just seem like they're out in Greece. They're just wandering around Europe, and they always seem to be laughing.
True.
They look great,
They
but they
seem
don't have
happy.
any vanity. They're just
Well, she has a little.
But if you watch the way she'll just strut around now, I mean,
Right.
who hasn't had work done? I mean, obviously I have. Jesus, Google me. But I put them in there, and that's my top 5 coolest actors. Maybe we'll put in a theme song.
I like the Kurt Russell choice because I was just thinking about him the other day. He never took movies too seriously because I remember this was years ago. He's making some big movie, and everyone, you know how they usually in these interviews talk so serious about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, I can't take this too serious. In 5 or 7 years, this will be on some local station in the afternoon.
Well, who's had a career where he was, I think in the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, he was a Disney kid star. And then he's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of my favorite lines in film, when Brad Pitt's character throws the guy playing Kato smashes a car with his head, basically. And Kurt Russell's wife comes in. What the fuck he did to my car? She was Australian. And then Kurt Russell comes in and just goes, what the fuck did you do to her car? It was the perfect line reading, one of the great lines of all time. So Kurt Russell, to your point, Larry, because he grew up in it, saw people up and down, committing suicide over it, becoming alcoholics, taking it all way too serious. Mike Myers and I'll finish with this, we're filming Wayne's World 2 out in the desert, okay? And there's this biplane that keeps coming down like 100 feet over us and tipping its wings and kind of like swooping, Mm-hmm. I go, what the hell is this guy just keeps going? They go, it's Kurt Russell.
Really?
He's the kind of guy who would, shoot a gun, fly a plane, drive, But yeah, he's one of the coolest. I thought about putting him on the main list, but he's honorable mention because I put him with Goldie Hawn, who became a producer and kind of owns Hollywood,
When you were doing the tuxedo like George Clooney, was that the last Oscars?
That was last. I've only been on 2 of them.
Okay, so that was the one with Bradley Cooper and
yeah,
Lady
Bradley
Gaga.
Cooper and
my favorite
and Lady
story
Gaga.
Ever. Every time I hear that song, I think of you doing it.
Well, like I said, the song from that movie, A Star Is Born, Larry, was one of those songs that's really good in a way, but also really bad. It's like a kind of a perfectly brilliant bad song.
didn't
In
he
the
write
sha
it?
la 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 la, in the sha la 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 la. And you can just see someone on a piano somewhere trying to write the song. Oh, this will be really catchy. In the sha la 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 la, you can't get it out of your brain. We got an Oscar-nominated song, la la la. Yeah. So, Larry, comment. You like my list?
I like your list. I would add one.
Maybe do me twice. I want to hear what you think. Coolest actor in America.
I would say Steve McQueen.
Oh, well,
right.
I thought of
That's
maybe
a
next
given.
week. Next week would be
Another
people who
list?
are no longer with us, who've gone to the
Oh,
heavens.
okay.
And I would put Steve McQueen and John Wayne right off the top. You know,
Okay.
And Paul Newman.
and Paul Newman. So you're right. The ones who've gone to the stars. Yeah, and I have some nice things to say about Paul Newman, too. He was always deferring attention. And the way he would do it with humor, because he came up with Newman's own
Right.
spaghetti sauce, whatever. Raised 300 million people for kids with cancer. And every once in a while I'd see him in an interview and they go, God, you've done so much charity work. You've done all these things. He goes, if I'd known it was make so much money, I would have kept it. He just deferred, like, I blew it. I should have got all the money. in a funny way. He
Right,
just
right,
said,
right.
Yeah.
And they always ask him, well, you, how did you become a star? And he goes, I could tell you a lot of things all day long, but you know why? Luck. Just blind
Wow.
luck. So he didn't
Like
say how
that.
hard he worked, anything. So I love him too.
And he and
Yeah.
Robert Redford. Have you ever read the stories about the
They would,
pranks they would do on each other?
yeah, they would take a car and have it demolished and then put it on the guy's front lawn and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Never flew with his wife, Joanne Woodward.
Oh.
They wouldn't fly together with the kids. It was that back in those days. It was early avionics. You had was you boarded, they'd say 1 in 10, it would crash. 10% chance you crash, and you could say you'd go or not.
Wow.
No, they didn't.
I was like, wow. That's gnarly.
They had an airline called 50-50. Every week the fleet diminished by half.
With your Captain Saddy Sad Sacky.
Captain Saddy Sad. I used to do a bit about that. But you won't want to go on an airline called Bob's Burgers and Planes. You ever buzz sheep? That was an old Bill Rafferty line, I think. You ever buzz sheep? Remember Bill Rafferty? Great comic.
Yeah, it's great.
He had a big. These comedians would have these signature bits they do for years. One of his was like smuggling hash into America on a gigantic ship, you know. And what's it like to get pulled over? You know, what's on the ship? You know, I don't know. He said something like, what did he say? Succotash? Or can't remember. Can't remember the bit, but that's the Bill Rafferty bit. We're gonna do. We've now gotten through our top 5, but I'm gonna do lists every week. How long have we been talking?
I don't know.
Jesus.
And Obama hasn't called to tell us how bad we are.
Obama, well, Dana, it was a good idea. Rambled a little bit.
And he wasn't on the list.
That's right.
Give the show structure.
I'm at least I'm a producer now. Well, it was really for actors. Don't give me time. Give me time. I could do it. I could do a lot of things. But that was putting yourself 5th. That's where you lost me. I didn't mind the other choice. That's just vanity. That's just silly. Michelle, he doesn't care what I think. It doesn't change the thing. Michelle, she's not here.
I think they're going to play badminton again.
Dana, you ever notice how you never hear Michelle? She's never been in the house when I've been talking to you. I just use that as a way to kind of grab my thoughts together before I come forward again. She's never been here. It's like, Michelle, you didn't answer. No, I'm just kidding. I'll beat the hell out of you. I don't know how hard I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you hard. You know why? Because I'm out of my mind. Sorry, I don't read reviews.
I've got my hand on the button.
Got my hand on the button, and the backup button is where my other hand is.
Actually, it makes him seem really like crazy in a wild way. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Well, it's kind of
Like
like
a character.
It's like Dr. Strangelove.
Exactly.
You know, basically.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bomb Russia tomorrow. I can do it, you know. We got to go, Joe. Okay, come on. I'm fine with that. No, seriously. I can do it. I've got the nuclear codes. I'm going to bomb Russia because I can. It's like he has an evil alter ego that he doesn't even. Honey, you've been whispering. Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. What did I say? Where was I? You said you were going to bomb Russia. I'm like, what? Bomb Russia. It's crazy. Come on now, folks. Wonder if he ever does it with his wife. Come on, Joe. I'll beat the hell out of you. Honey. All right. So this has been this segment.
Honey.
This has been this segment, and I'm going to come up with another list next week. And Chris, just for you, do your top 5 dream boats. Just call it dream boats. And whatever they are. Chris's top 5 dream boats.
Top 5 dream boats.
They're the dream boats. They're the dream. She's already thinking. Do you need a break or a pen and paper?
No, I can tell you my top.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
go.
you want me to do it for next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
A tease. Chris is going to tell her top 5 dream boats next week. And I'm going to do...
Because she has so many to sort through. She has an active mind with men.
Well, I think a certain Larry Bubbles Brown might arrive on a certain dreamboat list. Women like... I was happy to
Is
read.
it his my chiseled abs?
No one knows what goes on behind shirts that are over the waistband, okay? You could have a wall of abdominary back there, all right? It was fun to hear and read about alpha males from the Sapiens book. And they said that's pretty much Hitler and Napoleon were not. The big men were just people you would control, manipulate. It was kind of the people who could talk and control, manipulate people. That's alpha male. Because you would think it's the karate champion. But according to this book and according to my list, anyway, let's do What You Doing, Dana Carvey.
Wait, did Larry do his joke?
Larry has a joke? Oh, yeah. Wait, Larry, I'm so sorry.
Regis should introduce him.
All right, I'm a wind-up doll. I'll do it.
Anyway, you ready for this? We almost forgot the champion of the one-liner, the San Francisco treat, you understand? Larry Bubbles Brown. They call him Bubbles because he's kind of bubbly in a weird way. He's actually, his new moniker is Sad Saki the Sad Comedian. And he does things like that. He's got a catchphrase you'll never forget. It's a sound more than a word or something. It's very, very terrific. Here he is, direct from San Francisco, the one and only Larry Bubbles Brown.
Thank you, Regis. The great thing about being an older comic, when I get heckled, they get charged with elder abuse. Meh.
Oh, good. We wanted to keep space there because sometimes we yap right over your line. And then we can't, it's hard to put it in our compilation episodes.
Oh, okay.
Inside Baseball. Shut up, Brian. That's what they do it. Nice.
The Inside Pitch with Dana Carvey.
That's right. Yeah, 50-50 Airlines.
You wouldn't have Al's Bank. You got to certain.
Al's
you can't
Bank.
personalize certain businesses.
No, Bob's Burgers and Planes, Al's Bank. Well, it sounds too mafioso. Carlos's home loan. Hey, come on in, man. We'll get a loan for you, huh? What do you want?
On the other side, you wouldn't have First National Pizza.
So it's a bank that serves pizza, or is it just literally First National Pizza?
Well, see, if you had like certain businesses wouldn't fit into the corporate structure where you had to have the serious thing. So
right, yeah.
First National.
I think it would be toys and artillery. No. Toys and bullets or something. I don't know. I'm thinking, come on, folks. It's tough.
Guns are us.
What you doing, Dana Carvey?
Here we are. So our very special guest today is actor, comedian, an all-around good guy, entrepreneurial, Mr. Frank Cronin, and sometimes known as Francis Cronin, is here on holiday in America, and he had an adventure in Africa. And we'll start from there. Hello, Frank.
Hello.
How do you pronounce your name? Frank Cronin?
Yeah, Francis Cronin. And I'm just back from Tanzania, which is actually pronounced Tanzania over there, which is the
Okay.
biggest.
So, because I'm always very curious. So you just very quickly, it's you ended up with friends, and you helped. You were co-director, producer of a documentary that you just made on Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
And it all sort of happened by whimsical connections through a charity walk that you did.
Yeah. I've done a few charity walks, and I got, I guess, known in that space, which is
Yeah.
very small, for
Yeah.
doing things that are physically hard with cameras.
Rough set. You
Yeah.
you walked 500 miles. At one point, you walked 37 miles on cement. You had to rest a few days because of shin split. And
Yeah.
you slept out under the stars. You simulated being homeless, and you did comedy sets along the way, and you raised thousands of dollars for the homeless LA County homeless whatever organization.
And word got out, and as a result, I got to meet some interesting people, and then
Yeah.
some interesting people kept me in mind. And so
Right.
one day I'm talking to a friend, and they mentioned that their friend is about to climb Kilimanjaro, and they'd like a little bit of advice on fundraising, filming, and social media posting,
Right.
which is what I
Perfect.
was reasonably good at.
Yes.
So I contacted them, and then I got excited about it, and then I mentioned it to a friend who was interested in documenting it.
Mm-hmm.
And that friend is Edward Drake, and he writes and directs a lot of Bruce Willis movies. So
Okay.
all of a sudden, now there's a documentary team
There's a
going
team.
up the highest freestanding mountain in Africa with an oxygen tank, and we hadn't
Okay,
trained.
so we'll back up a little bit, but basically, that's a good
Wow.
tease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An oxygen tank was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote
20
that
is
down.
20 is serious. So what happened was the documentary became focused around a young lady who had lost her legs, which you told us about on a previous episode.
Yes, and that part of the story we're going to keep for the doc, because it's
Okay.
it's stranger than fiction, and it's
Right.
very, very dark, and maybe not for a comedy podcast.
Got it.
But her emancipation from that trauma and her rise up
Right.
the mountain and her struggle to get there and the team it took to put it
Right.
together is pretty compelling stuff. So it's going to be something to watch.
So all of a sudden you're flying into like how do how do you fly there? Do you do multiple hops, or where do you fly into?
Oh yeah, so straight into Amsterdam. Ran out of the airport, got me fix, and then straight to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to a place called Dar es Salaam.
Which is the capital of Ethiopia? Or-
It's in and around that area. It's
Yeah.
about an hour flight from Kilimanjaro Airport.
So you went to Amsterdam, then you went to Dar es Salaam,
Yeah.
and then you took a smaller plane.
Stayed in the same plane. Very interesting. So some people got out. It was like a bus stop, and then
Yeah.
at one place, and then we flew on to the base of Kilimanjaro or thereabouts, where I was met by a guy called Zebedee, who put me in the back of a safari wagon.
Okay, but when
and
you
drove
flew,
me into the night, and
When-
then we got lost. It was fantastic.
Oh, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
So when you flew, did you land on a dirt runway or something? Were you in like a little
No, so
prop plane or
there's-
a real jet?
So
The last flight.
Tanzania actually gets about 1 million tourists a year.
Okay.
So in terms of tourism, that's their biggest income, and they want the foreign currency going
Right.
in there. And as a result, the airport is
nice.
Is nice.
Yeah.
Functional. One terminal, one plane every night. One plane in, one plane out. Thereabouts.
And so
So we arrived on a big KLM jet.
big jet, and then someone's going to drive you somewhere.
Yeah, so we had made contact with a company called Great Migration Camps. So
Okay.
the Serengeti is there. If you're into nature, the Serengeti is like the center of all of the natural world and the 5 big.
Yeah, people tell me about it, and I just kind of think it might not even be that impressive. That's everyone wants to go there. Apparently, it's like going back in time. Larry, have you ever been to the Serengeti?
I can't get past Modesto. I've led a sheltered life. Frank's been all over the planet saving people.
Well, they have Larry. I know you like elephants, and they have some of the biggest and best elephants in the world. So I named one after you while I was there. He didn't like the name, but there's a big
that's
elephant
great.
called
That's
Larry
great.
after you. Yeah.
Really? Wow, I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah,
That's-
we got to save the elephant.
Yeah, he's got
Cool.
tusks bigger than my teeth, Larry. So.
Well, it's just the idea of the Serengeti. These animals were here before we were there, and
Yeah.
they're still here.
Yeah.
People are doing their best to get rid of them, but ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So now you're making your way in a van to where? Like the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, or?
So I got there 2 days early before
Yeah.
the rest of the production team, which is 2 other people and the talent,
Yeah.
Randy Horvath. And so I got there in advance, and I kind of made prep with Carl and Sally, who are two people who are heavily involved in conservation and tourism.
And okay.
And they're involved at a level whereby the government calls on them to help them make policies and make plans to help wild animals live around humans.
Yeah.
Because
that's the whole.
so yeah, his latest project is the main man's latest project over there is working with elephants and drones and keeping them away from people's crops, because otherwise there's conflict between animals and
I
humans.
love that they have drones that working out there now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Apparently, elephants don't like bees, Larry, and so they use the drones because the drones sound like bees, and then the elephants don't build a hatred of humans or conflict with humans. So humans and elephants can coexist happily.
Well, wait a minute. So they don't like the drones because they sound like bees, and that makes them like people more because we don't drone or what?
Well, when I was there, where I arrived on the first night, I was taken out basically into the bush, and I'm staying
At night?
At night, yeah,
So
quite
pitch black.
Yeah, we did a river crossing the first night within the first
Well,
hour.
to me, all these things conjure up movies. So I just like the idea that you're in a Jeep going across a river. It's pitch black.
Yeah, pitch black.
Everyone's talking Swahili or Tanzanian or whatever.
Complete stranger, and I thought we were getting lost, and then all of a sudden the driver admits, "Oh yeah, we're lost." So we took a few wrong turns because some of the roads where we were didn't look like roads. So we end up in a banana grove, and about an hour later we finally got to where we wanted. When I arrived there at the place,
And what's the place look like?
it's basically in a clearing in the middle of a jungle, and you can hear monkeys howling.
And is it like just a few buildings, or is there a wall with a guard gate and stuff? Or
There was a guard on the gate, but the gate
Yeah.
was open and the guard was chilling.
And
so
how
it was
tall
all pretty
was-
mellow.
so, okay.
Security there is pretty solid, and there's probably a lot less weapons and a lot less tension in that part of the world than, let's say, LA right now. It's actually pretty mellow, and the media's interpretation of what's going on in East Africa is very different to what's going on in East Africa. Tanzania is super chill. And their whole catchphrase is Hakuna Matata from the movie, which is no worries.
Yeah.
Whereas like my catchphrase as an Irishman is the fighting Irish. Like their whole nation is chilling.
Right.
Okay,
It's
so,
really cool.
So it's very safe. It's tourist friendly. It's
Yeah.
really helping the animals. And
Yeah.
do you have like people show you to your quarters? Or, I mean, was there sounds of monkeys? You get out of the truck. It's the middle of the night. You're walking on gravel, and they take you to your quarter. I just want to. It feels like a movie to me.
Yeah, no,
Chris?
Was it like Abercrombie and Kent kind of?
No, this was so thi-
camp, or was it more like?
No, so this is before we're going up a mountain
Yeah.
and before we go to the Serengeti.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to the guide's home.
Got it.
And
Okay.
they're two people, I believe, emigrated from South Africa, and they're now involved in conservation there.
Yeah.
So I arrive. It's the middle of the night. It's dark, and one of the first things that happened is I saw at the end of their plot of land just torches flying around and motorbikes racing around. And the motorbikes were being used because they hadn't got drones there to scare away the elephants. So now I'm in Africa within an hour of leaving the airport. I've been through a river crossing.
Yeah.
I've been lost in a banana grove with a complete stranger. And then I'm deposited at this house where there's no electricity except solar panels. And there's people with torches, monkeys howling, and motorbikes chasing away elephants.
And
so
are-
it was
So it
pretty
wasn't,
awesome.
it wasn't the Four Seasons. It was
But,
very local.
no, it was
and
It was a brick construction with a plastic roof covered with straw, but it was definitely like if it was here, it'd be $1 million house, but
Right.
no heating and electricity once a day warmed by fire,
Right.
and water warmed by fire.
And because of your adventurous nature and your adventures, see episode 13 or whatever. Or you're just feeling kind of stimulated. You're feeling good. The trip's behind you, or a little bit. You're going to climb a 20,000-foot mountain without really probably proper acclimation. Although you try, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling extremely present because, well, put it this way: you're very aware that you're an odd-looking person, over
Right. You
there.
just stand out.
Yeah. And then you're dealing with very, very happy, hyper-present people who want to make you feel welcome. And it reminds me of like some of the better places I've traveled in my life. I'm going, oh, these people are having a good time. And
They're not bitter. They're not angry.
good energy, probably not a lot of media consumption. So they really are truly in the present and making connections with you verbally.
Yeah,
and visually.
if we put social media into that area in mass, like intense social media, and came back like a year later, everyone would be really angry and sad.
Yeah, it'd be the fighting Tanzanians instead of Hakuna Matata.
It's kind of a lesson for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Chris, gotta get off social media. Look how mad she is.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you're dealing with a country that has, because of the weather, they can get 3 crops a year out of a single field, whereas like the Western world gets maybe 1 or 2, but they can get 3, and sometimes if they're really lucky 4. So people are doing well financially, and there's also a less is more kind of thing. It's not like it's minimalism by choice. There's food everywhere. There's avocados on the. I was looking at the avocados, thinking, "My God, this would be $15 just sitting there on the ground. I could have avocado toast right now." But the avocados, bananas, corn just falling onto the fields. Elephants walking around, and the threat of a leopard in a tree nearby, and you're just like, "Wow, this is."
I just want to record a voice memo to myself. Just pause the podcast for a second. Go to Tanzania and live there. Repeat. Go to Tanzania and live there. All right, thank you. I just wanted to, in case I forgot. Larry?
Paradise.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I just want to have some guac with an elephant, too. That'd be great.
We'll have you riding your own elephant and petting it and naming it and washing it and eating guac on it.
Yeah, and the dollar goes far, so you can have a nice meal and a good time and tip people and feel pretty great most of the time. So I felt all of a sudden I'm up in terms of like, oh, I've done well in life.
I'll just interject a little, because Paula and I, via her mom, we support a charity, basically a place called Community Alive in Musoma.
Yeah.
And we send money there every year, and then we get a translation of what U.S. dollars into Tanzaniers or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And it's like just, 3,000 is like 48,000, and they're doing all these really cool things, and that's in Tanzania, near Lake Victoria.
Yeah, the dollar goes a long way, and people are grateful, happy, and present in a way. It's not just like it's not idolatry. Like you experience it. It feels very like, oh, we're dealing with people who kind of have something figured out that we might have lost touch with.
All right, just a second. Yeah, just want to do a voice memo. Be grateful, happy, and present. Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead.
I know it's hard, but it's funny.
Frank,
It's simple.
we've all experienced that in some degrees on our travel.
Yeah.
Potentially, people I know in Hawaii, the native Hawaiians, just people who are not so invested in the flavor of the moment. That's why I listen to the thing Sapiens, because it gives you this 3 million year perspective as opposed to who's hot, who's not, what's going on, am I keeping up, what does the world think of me, do I fit in, all this stuff where everyone's getting anxious and depressed and I can't believe it all.
Yeah.
And it's crying, and it's crazy. Larry.
I'm ready. I'm packing. I'm moving to Tanzania.
Tanzania. Which is right near Tanzania.
Well, Larry, you'd love it. The people were very nice. The energy was right. And it was lucky because we weren't really prepped. There wasn't a lot of time to prep for this thing.
Yeah.
And the height of Mount Kilimanjaro is the same height as Everest Base Camp, which is just people suffer at that altitude. I'm not even that tall, so I was extra intimidated.
20,000. So let's get to you've got your team together. You're at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
And what's your first day like? How far do you go? What altitude do you start at? Where do you end? And then you have a camp, right?
So we probably started. Basically, the whole thing took about 10 days.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the calendar, but it's 6 to 7 days to ascend, 3 or 4 days above the clouds, which is a surreal experience in and of itself. You're covering massive amounts of mileage while above the clouds. It gives you a real idea how big mountains are. I thought I'd been on a mountain. I hadn't been on a mountain.
Right. And then you
just
you go above the weather. You're way above the clouds.
Above the weather, and the air is getting thin. And every night and every morning you check, or at least every night, you check your blood oxygen level. Through your finger.
With the little finger, which you do if you're ever in the hospital or whatever for a checkup.
Yeah, and you want it above 90, and most people were about 91 to 97. Mandy Horvath, who lost her legs, she was constantly in 97 because she's got big lungs compared to like the amount of circulation.
And where
she
were
has to
you?
generate.
Like, at what altitude did it start to go down?
I got lucky. Apparently, I had maybe asthma as a kid, and apparently that can serve you well. So you're used to conserving oxygen or whatever. So I stayed above 93 pretty much the whole time.
Okay.
And then at the top, people went down as far as 65.
Well, when would you pass out, or when are you worried? 65 sounds very low.
65,
Or do you get bad
65
headache?
they're probably putting you on a stretcher and they're racing you down the mountain.
Okay.
And just to put it in context, in terms of the operation, there was about 30 porters, right? So you're struggling, and you're really like having to focus on your breathing like you wouldn't believe. It's like it's one of the hardest things because you have to remain present. It's like forced meditation. If you don't concentrate on your breathing, you'll actually collapse. So all of the production team went down at different times. I got sick when I went down after we summited.
Yeah.
But on the way up, one of the camera guys collapsed, and then another guy stumbled for the last 2 miles, but made it. Two strong lads. And I got lucky, I guess, by asthma, so I got to hold the camera. And I'm not as good on the camera as the professional camera guys, but I got to do some of the shooting up at the top, which felt pretty cool. My ego was intact.
God,
and then I vomited at the bottom. So.
Wow.
So as you make your way up, you mentioned you have 30 porters that are just carrying your camping equipment, food, water, oxygen, whatever. 30.
So you can't climb unassisted. It's a big enough mountain that you'll die if you try and climb unassisted. So
And-
you need to have somebody to carry food, supplies,
It
oxygen.
just sounds again like a movie because there's 30 porters and you guys and this giant mechanism that's making its way up the mountain, and so basically it's 20,000 feet in miles or feet. Like how many each day it would change?
Overall, it was about from top and back down. It was about 50 miles, between 40 and 50 miles. On the
Okay.
way up, I think it was 28 miles.
Right.
And you're doing 4 to 6 hours a day. Now, Mandy's moving hand over hand. She's pulling herself up hand over hand up a mountain.
So she's going
So she's going
2 miles a day. Or
No, she'd
Or
be. You're talking maybe up to 5 miles a day. But it's a slow and steady pace, which is actually very good for altitude acclimatization, which you can't predict, and you don't know who's going to go down.
And how steep does it get? It doesn't. It's just a grind, right? You're never like, how steep is the steepest part?
There was
of it?
no rope pitches, so there was no need for ropes or security. But there are definitely times where you're like, oh, if I fell now, I'd keep falling for quite a while. Yeah, and also when you're looking left and right, Larry, you're struggling. You can barely breathe, and you're trying to achieve something, and then you look left, and one of the porters, who's about 18, is just kind of smiling at you as if he's out for a Sunday stroll.
So they're obviously just super acclimated.
Unbelievable.
Just means nothing to them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're literally carrying, 25 kilograms on their shoulders, straight up a mountain as if they're walking on the flat or downhill. Unbelievable. These guys, I mean, there's a reason the Sherpas in the Himalayas were the fighting elite of the British Army. These guys are unbelievable.
Right. So living at altitude, training at altitude. That's why the great runners are from Ethiopia and Kenya, from very specific parts of Ethiopia and Kenya.
Kiptanui, the Kenyan dude, unbelievable runner.
Gabriel Selassie ran with a kind of an interesting cadence. He had his right arm tied up against his chest because he would run with his school books.
Right.
10,000 feet, and he would do 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles to school, 6.2 back. So almost a half marathon every day at 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
He ended up being quite a good runner. Wonder where that came from.
Yeah.
And his genetics too. Larry, what about your running career?
I can do
Larry's a runner.
6 miles, but not up a mountain.
But Larry still often goes that you go out for an hour loop, right?
I do an hour every other day, yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Larry.
But I never see an elephant.
Well, you would have seen elephants, and you would have loved the porters too, because if you think about the caliber of human that's leading people up a mountain anyway, like the people who like to get out into nature and put in hard miles and lead people and be pleasant with tourists, they're already super good humans, right?
Yeah.
And then the pride they took in like helping this project take place and get a double amputee, to be the first female amputee to climb up
Mount Kilimanjaro,
the highest freestanding mountain in the universe that we are in the world, right?
Yeah.
They really took pride in it. There was tears, there was a lot of emotion, and Like
Yeah.
it was a roller coaster. You meet yourself on the mountain, they say. Like everybody got checked with their humility checked. Even, probably not the porters. They probably could have done it.
They already were understood the vast irony and beauty of just being alive.
Yeah, yeah.
And being conscious and present in the moment. But if you see someone, anytime I see anyone that's handicapped, even just out and about in LA, it does give me a second of gratitude. Like, oh yeah, what am I complaining about? You
Yeah.
know? So
yeah. And we were very lucky because Edward Drake, who's my friend, he directs the bigger movies. He's worked with Laffrey Whitbrod on lots of productions. So they have this synergy. They're moving in and out, making sure they don't get in each other's shots and getting great coverage. And then if someone was having a tough time and I was feeling okay, then I could do a little bit of camera work and vice versa.
And what was the wildlife as you got higher up when you're pitching camp? Did you see the stars in a way that you've never seen them before?
Yeah, it was more clear, I would say, than say Joshua Tree National Park or say Death Valley. You know, when you go out and there's absolutely no light and you see the stars and you go, oh, that's magnificent.
Yeah.
I would say this because there's a lot less cloud between you and the stars. It's magnificent. Now my eyesight is starting to go, so it to be honest, it just looked like.
Well,
it looked like crap to me. No, it was beautiful.
I haven't been in the high Sierras in a long time where I've seen stars. I mean, the closest I came was going to the Chinese Grauman's Theater with Bubbles, looking at, Gene Autry's
Stubby K.
Stubby K's handprints.
Yeah.
But definitely, it's always awe-inspiring. Everything is about don't worry, be happy, basically.
Yeah, and the size of the mountain, the undertaking, and the fact that you're part of something, at least, that if this woman achieves it, it'll be historic. Like the president of Tanzania was aware of it. It was tweeted about by the National Park Service. Wherever we went afterwards, people had heard about it, and there was handshakes and dancing. People.
Well, it's all the stuff that makes you tear up in a movie. Just the idea of someone who has an unfortunate accident and is handicapped, and then just goes such the opposite. I'm going to do Mount Kilimanjaro, and then finds through people and you and others finds the team that makes it happen. It's the ultimate just fuck you to her issue. Like, no, I'm going up.
Yeah.
I mean, so you respect and be awestruck by the courage, the strength, and just the badassness of it.
Yeah, super achievement. And when people see what she overcame to get there and how she overcame it on the mountain, and the teamwork with the porters and the suffering that everybody went through to make it happen, and the fact that it all came together, and none of us really had time to train.
Right.
Nobody died. People die on that mountain. We got.
Oh yeah.
We the fact that it's. I have a feeling that this might be one of the documentaries that makes people really think about how lucky they are.
Oh yeah, I mean it brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it. So if everything goes according to plan, we might see this next year on a streaming platform, hopefully.
Yeah, right now people are going through the footage and making sure that all the stuff is coming together, and we're optimistic about the future. Hopefully, it was a good one, and it's going to probably rock the world.
I like that.
Well, it's amazing. You're just so adventuresome, man. I just feel like such a slug now. I'm doing nothing. You're just incredible. You're doing all this stuff.
That's because I'm not good at writing jokes, dude. If I could write jokes, I wouldn't be climbing mountains.
Was there a movie called Kilimanjaro?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
John Wayne was in it or something?
I actually made a list once about the top 5 best names for mountains in the world, and number 1 was Mount Kilimanjaro. I make lists a lot. No, I'm just kidding. But it's the coolest name, Mount Kilimanjaro. Kilimanjaro. It's very African, very romantic, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
And some people say it's a reference to the snow cap. Think about it. In the middle of Africa, just a
snows
freestanding
of
mountain, up out of nowhere, a volcano, and at the very top there's some snow. So it always had a kind of magical connotations for the locals. So I think it means shiny whiteness, but it also means the journey that never ends. And one of the guys, he kind of got a little teary in the doc. He was explaining that the local people used to make sacrifices to it, and it was called the journey that never ends, because once you climb it, it sticks with you for the rest of your life, because you can't get up there without suffering.
I know somebody who was mourning someone who died very close to them, and just went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro just to expunge all that emotion. And now I kind of see why. And, you know, which people have listened to different episodes. You were already in Liberia and you had adventures in Mexico. And so Larry is talking about the fact that you had this other adventure.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just thinking maybe next year scuba diving under Antarctica. At least that's a rumor.
Dude, I just called it. Dude, I did a call yesterday just for the sake of sharing. Did a call yesterday with a guy called Dermot Collins. He's the fittest dude in Ireland. And we're looking at Antarctica.
Oh, really? Yeah. And I was just saying that as a joke?
Yeah, we're going to see, can we have a look at it? We're going to price it up and see what's possible.
Wow.
Someone just did the coast-to-coast Antarctica crossing.
Yeah.
But a guy called, I think, Colin O'Brady. It could be an Irish guy.
Larry, do you remember the documentary? Was it Shackleton or someone who got landlocked there? And how they survived. It's one of the most amazing documentaries. You could see it, Google it, whatever. Shackleton, right?
Yeah, got mad. Had to eat the dogs.
Had to eat the dogs in snow. It's the most suffering thing in survival story.
Oh, wow.
ever.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Your pet.
Hey, next time you're down at the bunker, we'll put that on after we do a second viewing of 3 Days of the Condor. Frank, I feel like you gave us this emotional palette for it, and it's still...
I'm exhausted by this story.
I think it was really got us into the feeling of it, because we know we want to wait for the documentary and not have every single detail. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
for sharing that with us.
Thank you, and congrats to Mandy Horvath for being the first bilateral amputee to female to do it. I mean, that's... I barely made it. The crew barely made it, and this lady made it.
Yeah.
So
what an adventure! I mean, Biden, when it comes out, I go, yeah, man, she's great. You know why? Because she's a badass motherfucker.
No, she is a badass motherfucker. And when you see the mountain that she had to overcome before she climbed the mountain, that's what's gonna blow people's minds.
No, I go Griffith Park up 1,800 feet and throw a personal party. And look what I did. I mean, no, come on, no, that's awesome. And the environment. My wife's been to the Serengeti. Favorite place to be in the world. Africa is Africa, and especially that particular part of Africa is just the... Larry, we got to go. We'll just have to get over our fear of flying. We'll bring Felipe and...
We'll do the podcast there.
Yeah, and guys, I have the hookup and for you guys, but also for any listeners. Great migration camps. They are like literally the most connected people.
Yeah.
And they will give you... We had one of the most insane tours. So all the big animals, hyenas walking through the camp, lions walking through the camp. Yeah.
Sorry, it's mine.
Yeah, they're like bullies. They sound like bullies when they're hanging around.
They do. All right. Well, this has been Francis Cronin, directly back from Africa. We did our list today. That was great. Really enjoyed that. I really felt like I was in a movie listening to that.
Exactly.
Chris Rios, of course, going to come back next week with her top 5 dream boats, which she wanted to say it just live here, but we're going to save it as a tease for next week. She had them on the tip of her tongue, like number 1, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Boom.
She said only 5.
Well, you gotta intensify the list. I might let her go to top 10 if she's on a roll next week. Anyway. On behalf of Chris Rios, Larry Bubbles Brown, and me, Dana Flarfo, this has been fantastic. Woo! Thanks for listening.